Welcome to Southwest history, where the untold stories of the Old West come to life. Today, we're diving into the legend of Sailor's Diggings, a gold rush town in Oregon that turned into a battleground for fortune and bloodshed. Discover the shocking story of the Triskett Gang, a group of ruthless outlaws who left behind a fortune in gold, never to be found. What happened to their loot? How did a booming town become a ghost story? Subscribe now and join us on this thrilling adventure through history. If you love true crime, lost treasures, and the wild spirit of the frontier, you're in the right place. Relax and enjoy. It was the year 1851 when the winds of fate shifted the course of many lives. A group of sailors, tired of the sea's endless embrace and driven by a thirst for gold, made the fateful decision to abandon their ship in Crescent City, California. They trekked northward, following the wild and untamed landscapes of the Oregon frontier, unaware that the winds of fortune would soon blow their way. As they made their way through dense forests and across roaring rivers, their eyes caught the glimmer of something precious: gold. Near the junction of Josephine and Canyon Creeks, nestled in the heart of the rugged hills near O'Brien, Oregon, they stumbled upon what seemed like a glistening dream, a riverbed rich with gold. The sailors, quick to claim their prize, set up camp and began to work the land, their hands eager to gather the treasure they had uncovered. And thus, Sailor's Diggings was born. Word of their discovery spread like wildfire, carried on the breath of every traveling prospector in the region. Soon, the quiet creekside camp became a bustling miners' camp, teeming with rough men and ambitious dreamers. What started as a modest tent city quickly exploded into a thriving settlement, complete with blacksmiths, butchers, and saloons that echoed with the laughter of miners and the clink of coins. It was a town of dreams, but like all boom towns of the West, it also attracted the dark side of fortune, a side that would bring blood and terror to its streets. By August of 1852, Sailor's Diggings had become a small town on the rise. But with its rise came the inevitable fall. On one fateful day, the notorious Triskett Gang, infamous for their violent reign of terror across Northern California, stumbled into the town, seeking refuge. The gang, led by the ruthless Jack Triskett and his equally menacing brother Henry, had been on the run for weeks, their trail hot with the pursuit of a posse seeking to bring them to justice. But in the hills of Oregon, the gang found sanctuary, or so they thought. As the sun beat down on the dusty streets of Sailor's Diggings, most of the able-bodied men were out in the hills, panning for gold, leaving the town seemingly defenseless. The Triskett Gang, 5 men in total, entered the saloon with confidence, their eyes gleaming with the thrill of lawlessness. It was Fred Cooper, a man with a dark heart and quicker hands, who first broke the stillness of the afternoon. Without warning, he stepped into the street and gunned down an unsuspecting passerby, his revolver singing the song of death. His comrades quickly followed suit, their guns roaring like thunder as they sprayed the streets with bullets. In a matter of minutes, chaos reigned. People fled, but there was nowhere to hide from the rain of gunfire. The Triskett Gang moved like a storm through the town, killing without mercy. 17 souls were claimed in their wake, including men, women, and children, all innocent victims of the gang's wrath. But their bloodlust did not stop there. The gang moved toward the assay office, where they ransacked it for $75,000 in gold, an amount so vast that it was almost unimaginable for the men of the town. With their loot in hand and their bloodshed complete, the gang made their escape, leaving a trail of death in their wake. As the Triskett Gang disappeared into the hills, the miners who had been working in the nearby creeks heard the unmistakable sounds of gunfire. Panic spread like wildfire, and soon a posse of angry, vengeance-seeking miners had formed, ready to hunt down the outlaws who had destroyed their town. With their stolen gold weighing heavily on their horses, the gang set off toward O'Brien, a small mining camp less than 6 miles away. They were slowed by the weight of their ill-gotten gains, their horses laden with the gold they had stolen from the assay office. The miners, fueled by rage and justice, were hot on their heels. The chase led them through the rugged wilderness, the miners moving with the relentless precision of men who had nothing but revenge in their hearts. And soon, they spotted the gang atop a small hill just outside the town of O'Brien. A gunfight erupted, the crack of gunfire echoing across the hills as the miners closed in on the outlaws. In the end, it was the outlaws who fell. 4 of the gang members, including Jack and Henry Triskett, lay dead on the ground, their loot still nowhere to be found. Only one remained, Chris Stover, the last of the Triskett Gang. He was captured and brought back to town, but before he could reveal the secret of where the gold was hidden, he breathed his last breath. Though the blood of the Triskett Gang had soaked the streets of Sailor's diggings, the gold they had stolen was nowhere to be found. It had vanished, hidden away in the wild hills of Oregon, where no one could reach it. The miners who had chased the gang knew the treasure was close, but despite their best efforts, the gold eluded them. Some believed the stolen fortune had been buried somewhere near the hill where the gang made their last stand. Others whispered that the gang had hidden it along the trail between Sailor's diggings and O'Brien, where the posse had first caught up to them. For years men searched high and low, scouring the rugged hills in search of the lost gold, but to no avail. The stolen treasure, worth millions today, became the stuff of legend. And as the years passed, the story of the Triskett Gang's lost loot grew, becoming a tale told around campfires and in the saloons of the West. The gold, though never recovered, remained a symbol of the lawlessness and fortune-seeking spirit that had defined the mining boom in Oregon. Despite the bloodshed and the tragedy brought by the Triskett Gang, Sailor's diggings, which had been renamed Waldo in 1853, continued to thrive. The town, once a small mining camp, had grown into a bustling hub, the heart of the Waldo mining district. In 1856, it became the county seat of Josephine County, though the town was still a wild place, teeming with miners, merchants, and gamblers. It wasn't long before the town attracted more infamous figures, men who lived by the gun and the game. One such man was Ferd Patterson, a gunfighter and gambler who arrived in 1859. Patterson, a man of imposing stature, quickly became known for his ruthlessness at the gaming tables, draining the pockets of local miners who were no match for his skills. But it wasn't long before Patterson's life of violence and gambling would come to a head. In a fiery altercation with George Wells, a former Texas Ranger and the town's lawman, Patterson found himself shot and wounded. Yet even as he fell, Patterson fired back, wounding Wells before being run out of town. His reign of terror would continue across the West, but his time in Waldo was over. As the years passed, Waldo's days as a thriving mining town were numbered. By the 1880s, many of the miners had moved on, either to the booming goldfields of Kirbyville or to other strikes further north. The town's once bustling streets began to empty, and by the early 20th century, all that remained were abandoned buildings and ghostly memories of a town that had risen from nothing and fallen just as quickly. In 1927, the town of Waldo was leveled by hydraulic mining, the earth stripped of its remaining gold. The post office closed its doors in 1928, and soon the town was forgotten by all but a few. Today, only the hilltop cemetery remains, overlooking the once thriving community. The land, now private property, bears the silent echoes of the past, a past filled with dreams, gold, and the gunfire of men who sought fortune at any cost. Though the town is gone, the story of Waldo, its people, and the Triskett Gang's lost loot lives on. It is a tale of the American West, a tale of hope, tragedy, and a treasure that will never be found. And that's the mystery of Sailor's diggings and the lost treasure of the Triskett Gang. The gold remains hidden, but the legends live on. If you enjoyed this wild ride through history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another gripping tale from the Old West. Southwest history is just getting started, and we've got many more untold stories to share. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think happened to that gold? Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon and your heart in the past. And that's the mystery of Sailor's diggings and the lost treasure of the Triskett Gang. The gold remains hidden, but the legends live on. If you enjoyed this wild ride through history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss another gripping tale from the Old West. Southwest history is just getting started, and we've got many more untold stories to share. Leave a comment below with your thoughts. What do you think happened to that gold? Until next time, keep your eyes on the horizon and your heart in the past.